beautiful people. Welcome to Find It, where we are here to find something. And I bring guests in to help us and for them to inspire us to find something in our lives that maybe we need or something that they've found to enlighten us, and we can all grow together. And today I have Natalie Essman with us today. Thank you, Joe Ingram, for the introduction. And she is here today to talk about money, 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 money. Woo! Can't wait to ask some questions about that. So she is a money expert. Let's show her intro, and when that's over, she'll be right back with us. Hi, Natalie.
Hi, Debbie. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited for you to be here. Joe Ingram hooked me up with all his people.
Right.
Awesome. We have some people coming on right now. Sean Benson just said, show me the money.
All right.
Sean. And then Trisha Harp is here saying good evening. We have some regulars coming in to listen to you today. And I'm just so grateful that you came on. And, we don't know each other. So you and I are getting to know one another right along with whoever shows up to watch this show.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fun, but it can be a little terrifying at times. Like, okay, now what do I say? But I would like to ask you a few little personal questions. I think tonight, since we're keeping it to 30 to 45 minutes, we'll dive right into all the good stuff that people really want to know. And hopefully people will also pipe in and ask some questions that they may have for you. So where do you live right now, Natalie?
I live in Southern California, Newport Beach, Orange County.
Okay. And so obviously you're a money expert and you're the founder of that. What is that? What is it? A business? Is it a foundation?
Yes. So I'm a non-captive. I call myself a strategist. A lot of times in financial services, it can be very product driven. So your money expert really is just a platform where we have access to the tools that you need for your situation, because everyone's unique, right? Whether I'm sitting down with a solopreneur, a business owner, a family, all their needs are going to be different. So I created a platform where I had all the tools and all the experts that we needed to really make a difference for people when it came to their money. I also wanted to have a platform that people felt comfortable going to, no matter what their background was. There's someone that they could connect to on a level to say, hey, I'm ready to take charge of this area of my life.
That's amazing. I love that you keep it open where everyone feels like they can go get what they need. That's amazing. I love that. So what brought you in your life to this place in your journey of life right now, the financial advising and money expert? How did you get where you are today?
It's funny because I've been thinking so much about this the last few days, just knowing I was going to be here with you. And I've always had an affinity and fascination with numbers as a young child. I was the kid that knew everyone's license plate. I just always had a thing with numbers. And so it was funny because I had to start working early. This is so funny. We were talking to Lynn. I would go spend my summers in Yellowstone, and you only have to be 14 to work it out there. And so I would spend my summers out there.
We don't care. 14, you're old enough to work out here at the ranch.
Right. Yes, exactly. And so that was the only way that I could stay focused. If I had activities that were making me money, that would keep me out of trouble, for lack of a better way of saying it. It was just the truth that if I had a way to make money, that would intrigue me to go do those other things. So I started putting myself in position, making money young. And I just started learning different ways that you can leverage money. I graduated high school, my senior year of high school. I only had to take one class to graduate because I had so many extra credits from working. And so even for myself, I just never saw school as a way of making money for me. It was never the route for me. I became a single parent young. I became a single parent at 20, which obviously changed the financial situation. So I had to stop and ask myself, okay, what can I do where I can make enough money to keep sustaining it? Someone had asked the other day, when did you decide to quit your 9-to-5 and not be an employee? And I have never been a good employee. I'm not extremely coachable in that area. So I just knew at the time, this was 2004, I did 95% chance of making six figures as an entrepreneur in 10 years. That was the time frame. They said, you have a 95% chance in 10 years. Well, at that time, I knew I did not have 10 years to make six figures in a job. It wasn't going to happen for me. If I had 4 or 5 years of school and all that stuff. So I wanted to take the risk more of what could I do as an entrepreneur? And being that I loved numbers and finance, it just made sense to me. Plus, I wanted control in this area because it was stressful being a parent and having one income and doing all those other things. So in my mind, the thought was, if I can get the money out of the way, it will give me peace of mind, which I learned wasn't the truth later, but that's another story.
So what did you do? Okay, so at 2004, but you were a single parent at 20, and then you had the wherewithal to say, how can I provide? What can I do? But did you do anything prior to financial stuff? And then you decided, no, this is where I want to go? Or how did that work out?
I actually felt like I had to pick a career, and I came from a long line of nurses. So I did a year of medical school and I hated it. And my dad said to me one day, you always have money. You're always looking at numbers. You're always doing that thing. Why don't you think about getting into finance? And I had really never considered it prior to that. And then it ended up being my passion.
Oh, wow. And you know what's crazy about that? In life, sometimes the most obvious thing to other people isn't so much obvious to us of like what we should be doing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like sometimes our strengths are so obvious to other people, and it takes us some time to figure it out on our own. And when I read an email that you sent me the other day, you had said something about the universe finally threw something in my lap that was meant for me, because all the while I was trying to say, no, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. And nothing filled your cup up until you started doing finances. I think that's super interesting. And then, but you know what? Your dad was the one who said, Natalie, you know, money, you love making money. So, you're investing in it and all that. But I loved what you said. So I might, in the end, I might read exactly what you wrote. I don't know, but we kind of said what it was in a nutshell. But I actually is there anything else you want to add, like personal stuff and the way you feel about your career? Because I'm going to dive into some questions. I have talked to people today and they have asked me to ask you questions. So they weren't going to be able to watch live. So they were going to watch later. So is there anything else you want to say, or maybe we can wrap up with extra personal?
Yeah, maybe we could wrap up with some. Yeah.
Okay. So like, for instance, my son, let's keep it in the family here. Let's get the family asking some questions. He had said, he goes, I want her opinion. And this isn't like how to invest his money, but he said, I want her opinion on what she thinks about the educational system today and what role it plays in the younger generation understanding the value and how to invest their own money. What do you think about that?
I don't think it does.
I don't either. And when he asked that question, I thought, well, I didn't even learn about money when I was in school, and I know my kids didn't. So, I mean, did you, when you were you went and got a job when you were in high school. So, right. You said you did jobs to make money during high school, but you kind of innately knew the value of making money, saving money. But when kids don't get that.
Right. So I would say, I think I learned the value in relationships and what people bring to the table. I've learned it doesn't always have to be transactional financially with money, which I think is a big part of it. But as far as kids being educated in finances, it's just not happening. I think that there's so much information out there that it can be overwhelming, but that we all deserve to at least know the basics. I should know how to balance my checkbook when I get out of high school. I should know how to buy a house. I mean, these are given things. We're going to move out of our parents' house. How does credit cards work? How do I get my credit score up? There needs to be some basic principles to that, so that people don't want to have their hands completely in their finances. They don't have to, right? They can delegate other things, but we need to have some type of foundation to that we know and that we're in charge of. Otherwise, we're just not paying attention to it at all, which isn't healthy.
Yeah, and there was a lady. My kids went to a Catholic school, and there was one lady in my son's class that made her son, like in fifth grade, he had his, not made him. It was an opportunity that she gave him to have his own checking account. He had his own checkbooks at the time. He had to balance his checkbook. I mean, all of these really mature things. And I remember feeling like, oh my gosh, like I am doing well if Dalton makes his bed every day. Like this is insane. Like, I mean, this kid is like, and they were just really thoughtful in that way with their kids to help them understand the value of knowing what you have and how to take care of it. The other question my son had was, when you go shopping for like a financial advice, people are asking, when you go shopping around for a financial advisor, what should you look for, or what red flags have you seen that would be maybe to help people know who their right person would be?
I think part of that is going to depend on where you're at financially at the time, because you're going to have better advisors, right? Or more, I should say, experienced advisors if you have larger quantities of money. But I think if you're just starting out, something you need to look at is, to me, this is someone I want to have a long-term relationship with, right? Because they're going to be going through those ebbs and flows with me. So first thing I'm going to look at is this someone I can have around for a while? Do we share the same value systems? Am I getting what I need out of the relationship? So clearly in some of my relationships, I can be what I would consider a little high maintenance because I know some things, right? So I'm going to interject a little bit more. If I'm talking to my CPA, it's probably not a 15, 20-minute conversation. We're probably having an hour conversation, right? So shop around and see if there's someone that you like that can grow with you and has the same value systems as you.
Mm-hmm.
I think is first and foremost important. I don't believe that you have to give people money to get a plan done. Some people do charge for consultation. Again, if you're just starting out, you don't need to do that stuff. Just start sitting with advisors that are going to give you feedback, and start learning what's best for you too, because that's the other thing. Sometimes we think it's supposed to look a certain way, and it doesn't have to. There's so much information in different ways that we can do things. It's what is your goal and what's the tool that's going to help you get there.
That is great advice. And something else, let's just go back to this, because Natalie, you are speaking my language when you said the relationships with people. And it's not only managing money, it's also having the right relationships in your life. I loved when you said that. And then that's true. Great advice for you is, how do you feel with that person? Because it is a relationship. Mm-hmm. If this person you're investing your money with them, you're going to have to want to talk to this person and enjoy and feel safe with the person, and you feel like you trust that person, and you can't do that with someone that you don't bond with, right?
Yeah.
So that's great advice. Mm-hmm. So another question,
I maybe think of one other thing for your son that I think is really important. Well, for anybody listening, is be with a non-captive agent.
Okay.
So because that non-captive agent can shop around, they're representing you to an industry as opposed to a company to you. They're representing you to an industry. So you have options. They can shop around for you. So non-captive agent, I think, is crucial.
Okay. That is, thank you. Thank you for that. And then there were questions about credit card debt advice. And I mean, I'm sure you work with people who want to invest money, but they have so much money charged up on their credit cards that they're just trying to pay that off. Could you give them any advice about that?
So there's a couple different ways that you can do that. You can do Snowball Method, which could be one for somebody, which is stacking off those payments to pay your debt earlier, and then you don't have to worry about your credit being affected. You can work with someone who helps in that area to help you pay down those balances. But one of the things that I do like to use with the Snowball Method with people is, typically if you you can go online, put in your numbers. It will tell you that number of, sometimes it's a small number, and you can invest that rest of that amount, because that little amount that you pay towards your debt really isn't going to make that big of a difference. It'll make a big difference for you there. So again, it's just looking back at those numbers.
Okay.
I don't know if that answered that.
Yeah, yes. And so the even like the bigger question is, should people then look though at how much they owe and how much they're paying in interest, because those credit cards have really high interest. So like, I almost feel like it would be more beneficial just to try to pay that off, right? Because you're not going to make as much money on your money as you are spending money on the debt. It seems,
Right.
I mean, I don't know.
Oh,
I'm not,
yeah, no, definitely. If you have a larger interest rate. So there's something called the rule of 72. And the rule of 72 basically is if you take the interest rate that you're getting on your money, divide it by 72, it's going to tell you how many years it will take for that money to double, right? So it's the same on if we're saving, investing, or if it's credit card debt.
okay.
Right. So what do you think the average credit card interest rate is these days? 25, 27%. It's
I
horrible.
don't know. I thought it was,
It's
I'm behind the times. I thought it was like,
I'm glad you
I'm
don't know, Debbie.
looking
That
right
was a trick
now.
question.
Shoot.
Good
Darn it.
answer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When your debt's doubling, tripling so fast, it applies in our savings and in our debt. So that's something that you want to look at as well. Rule of thumb always is I'm going to tell people always, time is your friend. If you can start now, start saving now, because you don't have to save as much now. I just helped a gentleman. He just had his first granddaughter. He's saving $70 a month for her. She's 4 months old. She will have almost $1 million by the time she's 65 in this account, only at $70 a month. Right. So, and during this time, she's going to save more money, have other things going on, but she is set for the future, right?
My
Just because it
parents did
started
that
now.
for my children too.
I
And
love that.
so
Yes.
it's still accruing and doing its thing. And they don't even, well, they might know about it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, like, why talk about it, right? They can't have it yet. So,
Exactly.
that was a cool thing. My mom is very savvy, very financially savvy. She's always doing stuff like that. Me, not so much. I love to spend money, Natalie. That is I'm good at that. So I need to get better. But I
Can I
know,
ask you though, just do you feel like having a mother that was savvy with money though, you feel like you picked up things just naturally from that association of her?
yeah, I do. I mean, I'm joking around a little bit. I do like to
Yeah.
spend money. I like to make it too, but I like to spend it.
Yeah.
It's fun. I like, nice things. But she definitely, without really even talking to me too much about it, I watched how she handled things. And I mean, very, it's just like even with cooking. She never really taught me how to cook, but like, I was always around when she did cook. You watch, you learn, you see, and so I definitely have picked up a lot from her. And then when I started, making my own money, I'd ask her questions. I trust her more than anyone else. And I actually ended up using her financial advisor because she's done all the research on this person.
Yeah.
So, he's good because she trusts him and she did so that was easy for me just to slide right in. But,
And I love about that, because to me, that's legacy, right? That's legacy. She's those skills. Your son's asking about those things. And so it's a different mindset going through the legacy of your family, as opposed to we're just leaving a mess. I don't want to deal with it. Not having a healthier relationship in that area. It's just cyclical. It keeps going.
yeah,
We're taking,
that's a good point. Like
yeah,
with
we're just
anything
taking
in our
charge.
lives that we can get on that hamster wheel, that is the way we grew up. And then we teach our kids the same way. And then they do the same thing. And I didn't really think about it like that, but it really does. It translates to all of the other with money too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And especially, right, we have crypto, we have all these different things going on now too. It's different if you're respecting your relationship and having a healthy relationship with money, as
How
opposed
do
to,
you
doesn't
have,
matter.
okay, that is a really strong, powerful statement. And once again, we're back to the relationship thing. Natalie is a relationship person. I can definitely tell this. Having a good or healthy relationship with money. Wow. Because some people, give me an example of that, like of good and not good with money, what you've seen in your career.
So just probably more belief systems related around money, in the sense of bad experiences with it, not great Christmases. We carry that into different generations. So I found that when I'm working with people on their money, a lot of times the challenge is there's so many triggers that come up around it, or they don't feel worthy to have a healthy relationship with it. That self-worth isn't there. They're having a hard time receiving. That's a lot of it. And so when we're healthier in that regard, and we're putting it, then our legacy is better at receiving it's just right. And again, that goes back to every relationship.
That's so true. I have never really thought about the relationship that I have, or anyone for that matter has, with money, and that it is the same as, I mean, it's not the same as like love and a relationship with a person, because maybe you didn't have both parents at home. And then, you talk about women who go find a bad boy because their dad wasn't there, all this stuff. We've heard all of that, but I never, ever thought about the relationship you have with money. So that's really cool that you enlightened me with that. One of the things that you were saying was kind of a segue, I felt, into another question. Like, a lot of the older generation, I hear them and they'll talk about, oh my gosh, this younger generation, they'll never even own a home. They're still renting in their 30s. What do you say about that? Do you also, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Because you probably invest a lot with young, like 30-year-olds, right?
Yeah. Well, I say what works for you, right? What works for you. Yeah. What works for you, where you're at, and then how do we get that portfolio and expand it? Because do I think if you're going to have a home because you want to buy a home because you want to raise your kids in that house and live in that house for 30 years,
Yeah.
cool. But if it's, hey, I want to have a different nomad type of lifestyle, which is becoming the norm now,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
Maybe you got to do that a little bit differently.
Right. That's
I
crazy.
think real estate's an awesome investment. Obviously,
Okay, well, that was going to be my next question. I think Sean Benson, who's watching, I don't know if Julie's watching. I have some friends that are in real estate. I was going to ask you, do you advise? I mean, well, right now with the bubble and the prices of homes went skyrocketing and all of that, I really don't think they're going to go down too much. That's just, and I'm not a real estate agent, but I have all kinds of thoughts that I have on my own. But I think they're going to stay kind of up. Yeah, Sean's on here. If you have extra cash and you're wanting to invest in something, would you say to your, and I know it's situational, but say someone has a desire to buy some property and they have the money to do that. Would you advise them, yes, to do that, or to put that money somewhere else to make it grow more? What's your thoughts on that?
I would probably tell them to invest it in a money-making asset. Yes. Like a real property or something like that. Something that was going to give them rental income, something like that. Yes.
Okay, that's cool. So like, does that help with taxes and stuff? If you own a property, so say you are at the age where you have your money invested in a lot of things that you're not going to have to pay taxes on until perhaps it comes out. But like, you have liquid money, assets right now, and you're paying on that. So if you invest in something like real estate, will that help tax wise too?
It's going to depend again how you have everything set up. Are you self-employed? What type of income streams do you have coming in?
Okay.
What other write-offs do you have?
Yeah. Okay.
So that's a good one. That's like when I say I'm going to talk to my CPA for an hour, that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. Like, okay, if 3 months from now I'm thinking about doing these investments, when's a good time to do that? Should we be looking at writing that stuff on my taxes this year, next year? What's the good strategy for me to do that? So those are the forward type of conversations that I'm having with my CPA. That's where we want to do that type of stuff.
Yeah. And that's also good to understand that even with you knowing all you are and being a money expert, you also understand that you need to have a relationship with your CPA to also then bounce things off of one another to find out what is the best possible plan for you. I like that. Yes. I talk a lot to my CPA too. Like I mean, he's like he's an older man, but my gosh, he is such a cheerleader for me. I love him. So like, once again, I picked him because of the relationship stuff, yes, which is who I am, who I think you are too.
Yes.
But what if someone comes into a bunch of money, whether that is hitting the lottery? I didn't win the Mega Millions. We're clear up to $3 billion in Ohio, but someone from Indiana won it. So, or like an inheritance or a settlement or something like that. And then here you have all this money and you really don't know what to do with it. How would you guide someone with that?
First thing is look at what are your goals? What are your goals? And then decide what you're going to do with it. Because again, it goes back down to that healthy relationship with money. I actually had someone in my family win the lottery. They won $7 million, and
wow,
it was gone in just a few years. Obviously, I was still, Yeah, and it's because again we're that not having that healthy relationship with money. So that has to always be the foundation of it.
That's incredible. So
Because
in
if I
order,
have beliefs that aren't serving me self-worth, I don't deserve this, I need to people please, I need to whatever, my money's out the door. I have things that I spend money on that I shouldn't, addictions, whatever, right? People, then I'm not going to be a good steward of my money. It's not going to last long term.
yeah, that's so true. And I mean, it seems so easy to know, like what you're saying. It's like, well, I should know that, but if and I'm not in the industry and I'm not, but we all make money. We all need to understand if like I have no interest in really delving in and doing what you do, but I want to find someone who is super knowledgeable and I have a relationship with to invest my money. So I feel comfortable knowing that it's in the right place and my money's working for me. But like some of the things that you've said today, it's like it's kind of funny to me that I've never really thought of it like that. So you're saying if you were to work with one of your clients who came into a lot of money, you would like sit down with them and find out what their goals are, what like say it would make a difference if this is a person who's older or if this is a kid who came into this. That would also make a difference in how you invest it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Or maybe they just want to leave money to their legacy at some point, right? I know, like, by a conversation I have to have with my mom a lot is I want her to sell some of her real estate and like just live high on the hog right now. I'm like, you've worked hard your whole life, Mom. And her thing is she wants to leave us that.
Yeah.
And I told her, if you just get $100, $200 life insurance, if people would get that when they were younger, it would cover all that real estate. She could have sold all that real estate, have millions of dollars she's living off now, and still left us an inheritance.
Whoa. Blow the roll, Natalie. What are you saying? Say that again. What can you do and what now?
So instead of leaving us real estate, because she's at this peak on, we've had this, and people want to buy what she has, she could sell it, keep all this money. If she had a life insurance policy, she would still be leaving us that amount of money, but it would cost her no money, right? Or her $200, whatever a month she's paying for it. And then we would receive that money income tax free too, because it's a life insurance policy. It's a death benefit.
Okay, people, you hearing this? Are you hearing?
Life insurance is so powerful. That's one of the things that, people ask, what's something you could talk about all the time? For me, it's life insurance, which people think is so odd, but it's because there's so many strategies that we can use life insurance for that, again, people just don't know. It's the Swiss Army knife.
And it is the Swiss Army knife. I love that. Okay, so I have life insurance. My husband and I do. Of course we do. And that was also encouraged by my mother. She was like, you need it. And I didn't realize, I don't know. So we definitely have it. But I also know there's different types and term, there's different kinds. Can you explain a little bit about your Swiss Army knife?
Yes. So term insurance and permanent insurance. So term insurance is good for a term, typically 10, 20, 30, 35 years, like having a rental, right? At the end of your rental agreement, then you move or you're done. If you have a permanent policy, it's like owning a home. It grows cash value or equity in that policy as well. So that's the main two differences in that regard. There's also something that I think is so important to talk about, which is living benefits. Have you heard of living benefits?
Living benefits, yes, but I couldn't tell you what it is. I mean, I don't know. Wait, I think, okay, I'm going to sound really bad, but I think, is that where it's life insurance, but you have it like a savings account too, and you can pull some of the savings out if you need it or leave it in there to compile?
That is considered a living benefit, yes. That is, but there's another component to living benefits too. So that's kind of like the owning the home equity part, Debbie. Okay. But that is considered absolutely living benefit because why? Because we can use these things while we're living.
Yeah.
So now on life insurance policies, they'll cover cancer, heart attack, stroke, organ replacement. So you can use that money now. And I love that because typically we're having separate money to pay for those things, long-term care or whatever, then it's expensive, right? So this way you're getting more bang for your buck, because if I don't use this policy now, I'm living for income tax-free money for paying my living benefits. Well, I am going to pass away. All of us are. So it will still get used. And I feel like I'm getting my value.
That is amazing. And that's beautifully said too, because It's true. I mean, that's a good way of looking at it. Like you're getting your money's worth, right? Like, oh, we
Yeah.
don't want to get our money's worth. Come on now. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Gosh, who knew? I didn't realize I could chat you up for another half an hour, but I'm
Good.
not
I
going
like
to.
that since you don't talk about money a lot.
I don't. I really don't. I just do what I feel like I need to do. And I don't, it's not my field of interest or, as far as like I said, I like to spend it and I like to make it too. But, I don't know. Let me look and make sure I'm not missing any questions that other people have asked me, to ask you. I know one thing is like with two parents typically having to work both outside the home. Is there any advice? Have you ever had a couple come in and say, I really want to be at home with my kids and, do all these different things with my children and not have to, care for them. I want to be the one doing it. How can we invest differently or better, or what can we do to be a one income household while my kids are little? Have you ever had that? And what advice did you give?
I really haven't had that. I think since I've been in financial planning, most have had to have two income households. So I haven't had a lot of that. I see it's very rare for me to see it. And to be honest, I sometimes wonder how they do it.
Yeah.
But it's cute. You're not you're shopping at home. Obviously, you're just watching your budget more, staying in that budget, making sure you're committed to that so that you can be with your kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know it's difficult to see the women out there who really want to be at home. But, if COVID taught us anything, it taught us that you can do a lot of business from your home. And while a lot of, you don't want the kids running around, but you can teach your kids, listen, mommy's got to work right now. And, I've often thought that advice that I would give to young mothers, especially that are really want to see the first. The mom wants to be the one to pull the tooth, wants to, do all these little things, see the first foot walk steps and all that. Is that what can you do that you can enjoy, that you can do online, to make a little extra income? And yeah, I know budgeting is huge. And when my kids were really young, we did that because I did stay home and it was a matter of me figuring out how I could so that,
Right. No, that's so true, Debbie. That's and I don't know why I wasn't thinking that, but that's why I became an entrepreneur, because becoming the single parent, I could not provide for us and work and pick him up from school and take him to baseball. And I still missed a ton of firsts. But he was potty trained in daycare. He was taken off the bottle in daycare. And that's when I was like, wow, am I going to do this for the next 10 years? Because if I go to school and do all these other things, I'm going to miss these 10 years of his life right now. So what am I going to do differently? And so that was exactly it.
And that's what you did. And then you went for it and you did it. You're a trooper. So we're getting close on we're after 30 minutes, but one thing I wanted to say is, I am so glad I got to meet you. I just have a really good, positive feeling from you. I really have enjoyed this, and I appreciate you being here and sharing your knowledge of being the money expert. Listen, the sales genius sent the money expert on over. So I've got the master, right? Now, what I would like to do at this time is to say the show's called Find It. And I kind of know where you're going with what you have found. But in your own words, in your life, what did you find so far? You have a lot left.
Yeah, hopefully I still have a lot to learn, right? But I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned, especially going through the pandemic, is to trust your journey. Trust your journey, even when that road is rocky and you're just like doing that doggy paddle, trying to get that gasp for air. Just know that you're exactly where you need to be and you are more than enough to get the job done right now as you are. That would be the biggest thing.
Now as you are. And now I just thought of another question I have. I got to back up for a second. Oh, Trisha has. Okay. What do you think about paying down home loans quicker and using that money elsewhere? Curious, asking for a friend. Maybe she is asking for a friend. I don't know.
Well, it depends too, because whether you need the write-off or not.
Well, that's
if you don't have kids at home and you don't have a write-off, do you want to write off? If your house is paid off, no other write-offs.
Yeah, because it does help with taxes. It really does. The other question I thought of before I let you off the hook here is, what do you say to people who are older who haven't really saved the way they should have for retirement. And they say, well, just heck with it, because I'm going to retire in 5 years and I haven't saved. It's too late now. What advice? I'm sure you have people come to you saying, oh my God, I hear the bell ring and it's like the 11th hour. I haven't saved. What advice do you give to those people?
I'm still going to look for a way, even if it's not in my wheelhouse. I'm still going to look for a way. I'm going to look at what's their Social Security coming in. Do they own a home? Is a reverse mortgage the right fit for them? Again, that's one of the reasons with the company that I put together, it was to have all these resources. So if it's not something that it's my niche, I have a few different estate planners that I trust wholeheartedly that are at your disposal. You need a reverse mortgage, I have a few reverse mortgage specialists that are at your disposal. And so if it's not something that's in my niche wheelhouse, I'm going to send you to somebody else and hopefully try to help you through that. We're going to go all out to see if we can find a solution, that's for sure. Because unfortunately, there are people who put themselves in that situation.
Right. And you made a comment earlier that actually made me think about this question. And that was, it's never too late. Right.
Right.
And it was in a different context, but when you said it's never too late, it made me think of that question, because it's like, you got to do something when you realize I got it, what can I do? And you're probably the perfect person, because you're going to this is the thing. You're going to find them someone if you can't help them, which
if I don't find them money, someone will.
Right. And that's another thing I like about you and the way you are. And I like, if I have a doctor and he says, I'm not really sure about that, I'm going to find out. I appreciate that more than someone pretending to know everything, because we don't know everything. Right. And I like to work with people who will say, honestly, I will get that answer to you. I don't have that answer. Mm-hmm. That made me like you even more, because you will find people to figure it out for them.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Natalie, you're just like a breath of fresh air. I love it.
Thank you. Same to you.
Oh, thank you. So I so appreciate you being on. It looks like we're winding down. So if you have anything else that you would like to share with our listeners, now's the time. Anything?
Yeah, just if you're having challenges in this area of your life, just go for it. How do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Just get back to the basic fundamentals, and just remember that every day we're just practicing, right? Just practicing. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. Things aren't going to be perfect really ever. And just have fun with it, learn, and just go for it. Start learning. Learn enough to be dangerous with your own finances, to where people can't give you information or advice that doesn't serve you.
That is beautiful. And, that gives people hope, because we don't want someone coming in telling us it's all gloom and doom and, and eating the elephant all at once, one bite at a time. Eventually, we're going to get to our ultimate goal. And that's if we have goals, right? We got to set them first to be able to meet them. Yes. Thanks, Sean. Thanks to all of our listeners tonight. And I want to let everyone know, and Natalie, stick with us. Go to the green room. We have champagne and chips. So I want everyone to know, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. I'm here, and I have new guests every single week. But next Wednesday at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, I get to be on the Lynn and Cheryl show. I'm going to be co-hosting with Lynn because Cheryl can't be there. So next week, if you tune in at 12 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time, I will be on the Lynn and Cheryl show. And then I'll be on, it's a double duty. But the Lynn and Cheryl show is like a 15-minute or so. We're in and out, but good topics. So hope to see you there. I'll see you in the back room, Natalie. And let's roll the outro, Lynn. Thank you so much.
Thank you.